It's that we have to hold the public attention when the chaos is so profound and so profuse that it's hard to get people to focus. But that's the reason we have the 10 Steps campaign, and that's the reason we're doing this work.
Is that why you've traveled to Dilley, Texas? Tell me why you're there and what you've learned about our system.
As a children's book author, I've been privileged to write 3 children's books. And one of my books is about different cultures and different communities. Another one is about the importance of speaking up, even if it feels like you may not win. And when I was reading the ProPublica stories about what was happening in Dilley and what's happening around the country and what will get worse with the massive purchase of ICE facilities around this country, they are designed not to hold criminals, but to hold families. And that is why it is time now for us to start this conversation. Read Them Home is about raising public awareness that we have children, we have babies who are in detention facilities right now, being fed moldy food, being denied access to health care. These are babies who are being told that their mental distress is just de rigueur. That's wrong and it is immoral, but it's, to your point, part of a larger narrative about who we believe belongs. It's why the birthright citizenship case was in front of the Supreme Court. But what we're trying to do is help focus not only the mind, but the hearts. If Americans can't remember that children do not deserve to be incarcerated and tortured, then our democracy is already lost. And so we're asking everyone to join us in Reading Them Home. We spent today 12 hours with extraordinary people reading stories to children in absentia. But we're asking every American of good conscience to read a book, to go to readthemhome.org, record yourself reading a children's story, post it online, use the hashtag Read Them Home. If millions of us do this, we can start to remind ourselves of who we are and who we say we want to be. That's the important moment that we're facing right now.
Stacey Abrams, thank you so much for putting all these threads, these pieces together, and for your advocacy for children. As someone who's reported on Dilley and other facilities like it, I know how hard it is for those kids to get their stories out there, for their families to feel heard, seen, and respected. So thank you. Thanks for the work you're doing.
First things first, I want to say, love the kids. We love the kids. We want kids to be fine. I was wondering what happened to Stacey Abrams. Because whenever I hear the Democrats pouring it on thick about immigration, it gets me pissed because I know things about immigration. I spent the better part of the last 4 or 5 years becoming somewhat of an expert on the topic. And when Stacey Abrams is talking, similar to when Jasmine Crockett was talking, these people will put out these statements to pull at your heartstrings, who are exaggerating. And I notice they don't use numbers when they talk. The numbers don't get used for a reason. She said children are being tortured. This is all BS in order to gaslight people into believing things that just aren't true. And a little bit of research this journalist could have done. I mean, I love the hair, sister. I love the hair. But I'm sure before you brought Stacey Abrams on to give this speech, this free time to promote her book, you could have took some time and kind of looked up the deal with Dilley and Carnes or Carnes. Now, these are facilities that house detention. These are house ICE detention centers or ICE, not detention centers, sort of like foster care. It's like a facility where the children are placed. So basically in America, if you're a parent and you go to jail or you can't take care of your kids for whatever reason, the state has to take the kids. It's not a new idea. It's not something that was made up just for ICE. It's something that's been going on in America for, a couple hundred years. And notoriously in America, these facilities are understaffed, underregulated. In fact, the way treatment in these, these organizations or these facilities, the treatment in these facilities that Stacey Abrams is complaining about, for instance, is almost like the Hilton compared to what broke-ass U.S. citizens go to. Yeah. So the numbers are astronomically different, meaning 100 times more U.S. citizen children, 100 times more U.S. children are in facilities way worse than what Stacey's complaining about. See, and when I hear that, it pisses me off because, see, I'm here to advocate for Black Americans. And guess who's the number one occupier of those facilities? Black kids. But I don't hear Stacey Abrams writing books and talking about it and up here gaslighting about all the Black kids in our foster care and in our detention centers for U.S. citizens that are way more horrific in nature and in scope and in oversight and in all the other issues that you're complaining about. For every one Dilley or Conez or similar situation or facility that Stacey Abrams is alluding to here, there are 100 more of facilities with little Black kids and little white kids and U.S.-born Latino kids or kids whose parents are not, going through ICE detention or deportation. In fact, what she's talking about is not even kids going through deportation. This is temporary. We're not even talking about the permanent housing of, say, like a juvenile detention center where you're going to be there. You may be sentenced there for the next 6 months or until you're 18 years old. We're not even talking about that. We're talking about kids who get held for a week or two because the mother or parent is going through the process. And now Democrats complain because, the kids have been separated from the parents. So now they say, okay, we're going to make facilities where parents and kids can stay together. I think Obama tried this as well. And that's still not good enough because Stacey Abrams is like, we shouldn't have parents in these detention centers. Families should not be here. Well, what should they be? Oh, I got an idea where they should be, Stacey. In their home country. Yeah, that's where they should be. Because you know what? If you went to Mexico, if you Black woman went to Mexico with your kids, or Canada, or any other country, and you weren't a proper citizen, and you didn't go through the proper process, and you got pulled over or stopped or whatever, guess what they do, Stacey? They would send your ass home. Because see, our detention centers or our process here for immigration is not new, nor is it unique. In fact, there are countries that are way worse. Try Poland. Try Germany. Way more stringent. We're not even the most strict. It's just we have political parties that use this to win votes, whether for it or against it. That's the problem. Now, I don't want to go too far, but I do want to give you some data here to just show to you how much Stacey Abrams is full of shit. And if she spent any time in this space, if she did any research at all, she already knows what I'm about to tell you. In fact, if she's watching right now, she would be thinking, he about to expose me. Because, yeah, it's simple. Stacey Abrams is complaining about 400 kids. Yeah, the number of kids that Stacey Abrams is complaining about now is 400 to 500 children. When it was at its peak, it's dropped to 100 in these facilities. They had a backlog. Numbers got higher. Fam, right now, there's about 330,000 U.S. citizen children who are U.S. citizens stuck in similar facilities. Can I repeat that for y'all? 330,000 U.S. citizens born, U.S. citizens' children underage are in similar facilities. No one talks about it. No one cares because it's not a part of the Democratic agenda to give a shit. At best, nationally, we're talking a few thousand kids are in these temporary facilities while we determine what's going to happen with the parents so they can go with the parents or whatever. Because they don't have another guardian to be with. If both parents are in ICE, or if you're with one parent and they're in the system, what do? Let the kids stay at home and fend for self? So if we let the kids stay at home and fend for themselves, that would be abuse and neglect. If we take the kids, sorry, they all couldn't go to Stacey's house. That's right, Stacey don't even have kids. Stacey, why don't you open a facility? See what I'm saying, guys? If you care so much about these kids, you don't have kids, perfect. Open your own foster care facility and do something about it. See, they don't want to do anything. They don't want to fix the problem. They want to capitalize off the problem, inflame it, gaslight off of it, create a narrative to help their political party. Because if they cared, Stacey, who has no kids, is not married, has all the time in the world. Last time I checked, no real job. Writing books is not a real job. You ain't got to be a certain place at a certain time. You could do that on your off time. Why aren't you actually doing something to help the problem? Besides going around the country getting paid by your friends with these made-up organizations to talk shit about it. It's just like those California representatives, state reps. I'm upset because we need to stop saying the word homeless. We need to say unhoused. Say unhoused. I'm tired of you using the wrong language. I'm tired about there being homeless people. I don't think if I was homeless, I think I'd be more concerned with getting a roof over head and less concerned about using the word housed, unhoused, or homeless. That's just me. That's just me. So back to Stacey. Approximately 330,000 American citizen children or legal residents under state child welfare jurisdiction are in U.S. foster care at any given time. Remember, we're talking about 400, 500 in this facility, as its peak has now been reduced to 100 or less. And we're talking nationally a couple thousand. And it's temporary. Temporary. Now, there are complaints. There are complaints about these facilities. I want to keep it a buck with you. There's some complaints. Prolonged detention. You're supposed to be here 3 days. You end up being here 3 weeks. Inadequate mental health care. People not getting their meds on time. Poor food. The water quality is garbage. Unsanitary conditions. Psychological harm to children. Being separated from their parents. Set somebody in a room, beating them, and hurling insults at them. No, the fact that they're not with their parents in America, in their wherever they were before, they consider that psychological torture. Fam, U.S. citizens go through this all the time. It's called being evicted. It's called mama got a habit. She can't take the kids with her. It's called Pop-Pop in jail. It's called Pop-Pop had a car accident and Pop-Pop is in the upper room. All these things that happen in regular life to American kids all the time that no one cares, no one talks about it. It's just part of life. There are poor Americans who are going through everything on this list every day, and it's not a story. It's not a segment on MS Now. No one cares. We care, but I'm saying the networks don't care. They would not give Stacey the time of day to talk about that. But you can come talk about this because it's part of the agenda. And as Black Americans, we got to be willing to call this out. And of course, they got staff-related issues. Okay, so staffing is a real problem, right? They don't have enough staff. Are the staff properly trained? All the things that are happening in these undocumented holding centers for the children of the undocumented, all these things that are happening there are happening in other facilities for U.S. citizens, but way worse. Way worse. So understaffed, overcrowded, for-profit operators. Oversight gaps, not enough people visiting, not enough making sure, following up, making sure things are right? Yeah. So that's what's happening to these systems, notoriously. Now, the key difference that they want to point out, and I guess I should too, that if you're in a foster care home, you may be there because you were untenable, like your parents couldn't take care of you, because maybe you did something. And you may be in a juvenile facility because you committed a crime. So those things do exist, but these are still children. They are still children. We still have a duty to them. But as I was doing this research, I kept seeing this, well, these children did nothing wrong. I know their parents did. Their parents did something wrong. They broke into America. And they did this to their kids by doing that. They did not have to do that. It's a choice. Maybe those parents should be arrested and charged with child abuse or child neglect. I mean, if you bring your kids into a situation where the kids are now suffering psychological torture from separation, from not being with you, because you went to a country you are not a citizen to, you were not approved for asylum, and you just said, bump it, I'm staying. Well, maybe you, when you're caught, maybe we should charge you with neglect and child abuse. Because you're the one torturing the child. We're not supposed to overlook that you're not supposed to be here just because you got kids. See, it's all manipulation. And I also want to point out, there's a sister on this panel. Oh, well, there was a sister in this segment with Stacey Abrams. So we got Stacey Abrams, very black. We got a sister that appears, maybe she's mixed. I don't know. I can't tell. Nice hair. But we got what appears to be two black people talking about children in facilities not being treated well. When the black children in the United States of America, black U.S. citizens who are children in these facilities, in U.S. facilities, it's, I don't know, maybe 50 times greater in number. We are overrepresented in the foster care system, in the detention care system for juveniles. Neither one of them care to mention that. Neither one of them care to advocate for it. They're on a segment. They could have just look, man, look, I'm a reasonable person. I understand you're a Democrat. Your job is to toe the line. You could have threw me a bone and just mentioned, there are a lot of black kids in similar situations, and we should also advocate for them. Stacey Abrams, it wouldn't have cost you any money to throw that in there just to keep me off your ass. You could have done that. Because, see, that's my job. My job is to see these issues with black Americans and call them out. To see how you Democrat, we the party that care about black people. See, I'm black, I care. And then you go right there on a segment. You're in front of the whole country. Talking about a topic where black children are overrepresented. Disproportionately overrepresented in this plight. And you want us to cry a tear for the kids of parents that aren't supposed to be here. Yes, there's some black kids in these situations whose parents may have broken the law. So did the undocumented kids' parents. Okay? See where I'm going with this? In foster care on September 30th, 2024, black or African-American children made up 25% of the total population. 81,000 out of the 330,000 children. I just told you, maybe a couple thousand undocumented children are in these situations temporarily. 80,000 black kids are. And see, when you say Tim Black, man, why you get so upset, bro? Why you be on one? Because I know things. So when I had somebody saying Tim, you selling out. I ignore it because I know things. They say, Tim Black, talk about Republicans. Guess what Republicans are not doing? Republicans right now are not on Fox News talking about how we need to help the parents of migrants or the children of migrants, and totally omitting their white kids' situation or black kids' situation. They're not doing that. They're also not asking for your vote. They're also not saying they're the good guys. And you didn't vote for them. So it's all these reasons why it's something about a con artist. It's something about a person who tells you they're your friend. And then as soon as you turn your back, they pull out a Ginsu or a katana blade and stab you in the back. And then they gaslight you and say, hey, how'd you do that? How'd that happen to you? Huh? What happened to you? Who stabbed you? Must have been those bad Republicans over there. You understand what I'm saying? It's not to tell you to go be a Republican. Everything that I've given you here today is to have you be equipped to understand what is going on. Black children are dying in these facilities, not just being held for a couple weeks, literally dying. They have facilities where we don't even know what happened to the black kids. They buried them out back behind the jail. Parents looking for their kids. Where my kid? Where my son? I can't find him. He's gone 6 months. Turns out he was picked up, held. Something happened. Don't nobody know. And they buried him in a ditch in the back. This is what America does. And if I know that, fam, and I'm not a multimillionaire, I don't have a staff, if I could care enough to look this up, find this information, keep it in my brain, you don't think that these Democrats who make all this money, who are running for office, who want to be relevant, couldn't have something relevant to talk about that benefits us? Stacey Abrams is one of those, she was one of those people talking like black men owed her a vote. Don't nobody black owe you shit if you can't advocate for us honestly and fairly, at least as much as you advocate for other groups. So that's just the foster care system. We're 1 out of 4. Last stat. Foster care is bad enough. When 1 out of 4 children are black, we all know we're not 25% of America. Okay? So we're twice as likely to be in the foster care system than white kids. Juvenile detention centers, we're 50% of juvenile detention centers. What I'm trying to tell you is Stacey Abrams didn't bring them up. You don't know the things that are going on in juvenile detention centers? You don't think that they're on par or worse? Would you imagine that what's happening in juvenile detention centers, some of them privately owned, private prisons, you don't think what's going on there is on par or maybe worse than what's happening at these new facilities that everyone's paying attention to, that people are protesting, that's in the news, where undocumented children are held? Which one you think is getting more attention right now? So what do you think about which ones are safer? You know, bad things really happen when no one's looking. Everyone's looking at these detention centers for these undocumented kids. Democrats are running on this shit. They're sending their senators and representatives trying to force their way in to see. Meanwhile, 3 blocks away, there's a facility with U.S.-born citizens, their young, beautiful children there. They won't even pump their brakes, they'll stop, send a box of donuts, some wipes, or even stop out, or even wave out the window as they drive by. Because it's not about the kids. It's about the politics. As an advocate for working class people. Because ain't no rich kids. Ain't no rich kids sitting up in no juvenile detention center like that. I mean, you'd have to really work hard to get put in one of those. Remember Ethan Couch? Ethan Couch is a rich white kid that killed like 3 people and paralyzed a couple others because him and his friends stole beer out of the store and then wrecked the car and hit a parked car on the road trying to help somebody change tires. You know how hard he had to mess up to end up actually going to a center? He didn't even go to jail for that. He was on probation and wasn't that great. That's what got him put there momentarily. They made up a word, affluenza, when you're affluent. The whole argument was, well, since he's so rich and he's never had any to deal with any responsibilities, it would be unfair. It would be cruel to hold him accountable for his actions of actually killing people and paralyzing them. We can't have him be responsible for himself. So what I'm saying is, if you have notoriety, money, fame, wealth, influence, your kids don't go to this. So this is a working class American issue that doesn't get anywhere near the amount of attention it needs. And just like I have a person contact me, I really talk about immigrants, how they don't hurt the job market. Why aren't you contacting me to talk about black kids stuck in juvenile detention centers? Why aren't you contacting me to talk about poor kids stuck in foster care being abused right now? See, you just want to come up, and it's disgusting. Black youth accounted for 46% of youth in residential placement programs, detention centers, and secure facilities. Stacey Abrams, I'm not here to say you're worthless, but I'm going to say you're as close to worthless as can possibly be without being totally worthless. This is self-serving of you, and I love how people always say you're such a smart lady. Smart don't make you right. Smart doesn't make you ethical. And you're just another cog in a machine, sister. And it's pathetic. And if you really are as bright and intelligent and amazing as they say, why can't you use that to help us instead of just help yourself? And stop talking to me about elections. Your election is over.
Catch Tim Black live on the most dangerous show in America, Sundays, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Times. Don't miss out on the real. Stay dangerous.